Hi guys, welcome to another session of Tech with Martins. And as usual, my name is Martin. I'm a database cloud support engineer for Amazon Web Services. And today we are going to continue with our session of RDS monitoring. Today we are going to look at the RDS monitoring tools. Okay. And first, we need to understand that. When it comes to database changes, like maybe scaling vertically or scaling horizontally or tuning database tables, schemas, these decisions are 100% influenced by RDS monitoring, right? When you monitor your RDS instance with the given tools, you're able to take a decision on whether to scale, right? Whether to scale or whether to tune, right? There are these two objectives that we are more interested in. After monitoring, there is the objective to scale or the objective to tune. Tuning is like maybe updating statistics, maybe updating you update your statistics, or you clear out fragmentation, you do vacuum and so on and so forth, right? Or you create indexes, or you do re-indexes, you rebuild, and so on and so forth, right? So why is RDS monitoring very critical? It is very critical because scale you need. Sometimes your database activities, like database grows, right? Activities, there's a lot of DML and database activity. Your tables grows, your database size increases, and you at the end of the day, if you don't monitor, let's say if you don't monitor storage, you will see that you'll be lacking storage. Okay, so if you had a monitoring tool available to monitor your storage, and when storage is maybe nearing a threshold, you are able to kind of increase storage. Okay, so that's the reason why I specifically mentioned that RDS monitoring, like monitoring your whatsoever the instances, whether it's a cloud database administration or on premises, you monitor before you take a decision on scaling or tuning. Okay, yeah. So for today we're going to look at the various tools that are available in our disposal to do this monitoring, and I'm going to give you the what I recommend and when and how to use each tool. Okay, and I will also give you a demo, like show you how you can enable this tool, and I will give you an overview of each tool. Okay, all right, guys. So let's move to the next page. Yeah, guys. So as you can see on my screen, it's a list of various tools that you can use to monitor your RDS instance. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through and give you the most important elements of each tool, right? So the very first tool that you use to monitor your RDS instance is CloudWatch Metric. Okay, so what is the CloudWatch metric? CloudWatch metrics, like these are metrics that you use to monitor your global instance resources, like the underlying host. Remember, told you people last time that your RDS instance or your SQL Server, let's say SQL Server instance, Postgres instance, or MySQL instance are being hosted, like they are being hosted in an underlying host. That underlying host is an EC2 instance. Okay, so the CloudWatch metrics here gives you like metrics that you can use to monitor historical or live um, metrics about the underlying resources or the underlying infrastructural resources of your EC2 instance, like what, like CPU, like memory, like IOs. Why is it important? Because your RDS instance has a host. That host is an EC2 instance. That EC2 instance has its CPU, it has memory, it has IOPS, and so on and so forth, right? So reason why CloudWatch metrics are good to monitor what we call instance resource utilization. So if you want to capture anything about CPU, anything about IO, anything about storage, I recommend you use CloudWatch Metrics, okay? And it's provided by AWS. Second is the CloudWatch RDS CloudWatch logs, right? People will be surprised why I'm giving CloudWatch logs as a monitoring tool. I mean, this is my best monitoring tool so far. Okay, it's my best monitoring tool. It is a go-to whenever there is a problem. And I have never, as a cloud database administrator, for my past experience, whenever there is a problem in my RDS instance or my on-premise instance, the my go-to is always my logs, right? So I try first to go to the logs and get ample information. Okay, so RDS also provides you RDS CloudWatch logs that AWS provides that, so you can always uh, go to these CloudWatch logs and monitor all activities. Remember, any activity that happens in your RDS instance is being logged, right? So, what is the goal? What do we recommend you for? I recommend you to use CloudWatch logs when you have issues like failures, like RDS is there's a malfunction, or you have some sudden events, maybe a failover happens, or an upgrade did not work, or something did not work well. All this information will be logged and exported to your CloudWatch logs, and you can actually get more detail about why that particular event failed or why that particular activity occurred at that particular time. Okay, so guys, please learn how to use your CloudWatch logs. Your RDS CloudWatch logs, right? Because it's very essential. It's very essential. Then now, examples of these logs you have SQL Server error logs, you have Postgres logs, you have MySQL error logs, and so on and so forth. Okay, and the next tool is Performance Insights, and is now integrated to CloudWatch Metrics known as Database Insights, right? So Performance Insight here, like if you want to monitor database activities, right? Database activities meaning, let's say you need to know the active sessions, queries that are running. You need to get weights. You want to get logs. You want to see if there are logs, there are weights. You want to see query performance. Then you use Performance Insight or wasn't currently known as Database Insight. Okay, and it's also good for historical monitoring. Like you want to monitor historical data, what happened in your RDS instance, maybe within a certain period of time. And you can also use it for live monitoring, meaning that maybe you have a problem, you can directly use Performance Insight to monitor that situation. Okay, so you can monitor weights, logs, query performance, and like all sessions. Performance Insight is going to log in all the queries that are currently executing in your RDS instance, or queries that were actually executing, and you can have more information about a query. So what I would directly tell you about performance insight and database insight is that if you really need to know what is happening, like in terms of querying, in terms of database queries in your RDS instance, go for performance insights, right? Because it captures all of that. Then we have enhanced monitoring, right? Enhanced monitoring is also provided by AWS, and enhanced monitoring is used to capture operating system processes, right? So it captures operating system processes and also RDS processes. Is that okay? What do I mean by that? Remember, queries are locked in Performance Insight, but the underlying host also has its own processes. Like it has processes, it has some RDS processes, it has storage processes, um, it has its own underlying processes that are used to enables the host to function properly, right? So it is good for you to monitor those operating system processes to make sure that those processes are not kind of overloading your RDS instance. Okay, so enhanced monitoring is also good for historical monitoring and live monitoring. Like if you have a problem, you can use live you can use enhanced monitoring to monitor it. Okay, and the good thing I love about about enhanced monitoring is that with enhanced monitoring you are able to get the DB load relative to operating system like instance resources. Okay, so you can see active, you can see like freeable memory, like you can actually see freeable memory, you can see, you can break down CPU utilization and see which process is consuming CPU utilization, right? Because in CloudWatch, in general CloudWatch metrics, you have just a global like total CPU utilization, total memory, free memory, total IOPS. But in cloud with the enhanced monitoring, these processes are broken down into various sections. You can use enhanced monitor to see CPU that is being consumed by a user, CPU that is being consumed by a single process. Let's say process ID, PID that is running in your RDS instance. You can see the memory that is consuming. The you can see the memory that's consuming. You can see the CPU that is consuming. Right? You can monitor very critical issues like idle sessions. Right? Idle sessions. You can capture them and see those process ID. What is so important that you should take note about enhanced monitoring is the fact that it gives you the possibility to get what is known as the PID, process IDs, right? Process ID means all processes that are running. You can easily identify a process ID and take appropriate action. You can even kill a process depending if you see that the process ID was sleeping, right? Okay, guys. So the next tool that we have other tools. Other tools here that are known as inbuilt tools, right? So naturally, each database each database engine like Postgres, SQL Server, MySQL do provide inbuilt tools that you can use to monitor. So RDS also allows you to use those inbuilt tools, right? Inbuilt tools, right? Inbuilt tools you can in maybe SQL Server you can have extended events. Yes, you can also use extended event. You can use in Postgres you can use queries like pg start activities. In SQL Server, you can use sp underscore wo2. In MySQL, you can use show process list to capture database activities, guys. So the reason why I brought this specific monitoring tool is because it is very essential for troubleshooting a live performance issue. Like if you are currently experiencing performance issue and it is ongoing, my recommendation is that you, instead of rushing left and right, try to use, you can, in Postgres, you can easily run pg start activities, and it's going to give you all the list of processes and everything that is running in your RDS instance at that moment. In SQL Server, when you run sp underscore wo2, it gives you the same processes, gives you processes that are being logged or waiting. Same thing with MySQL. Okay, so whenever you find yourself in a live troubleshooting, make sure you have this available, right? It is true that you can always have this in performance inside all of that, but if you don't have access to the AWS Management Console, that will be a problem. Maybe you are a developer and you don't even have access to the AWS Management Console to get to performance inside or enhanced monitoring or whatsoever. But you have access to the RDS instance using maybe pSQL, right? So you have access to from the back end. You can access that RDS instance using pSQL. You run this performance monitoring command, and you're going to have ample information. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah, guys. So we are now in our AWS Management Console or the RDS Management Console, right? So we can hit databases. So you can see I don't currently have a database in this region. So what I want to show you is I want to give you an overview how to enable all of this monitoring tool while creating your RDS instance. Okay, so I'll show you how you can enable them and from A to Z, and I will give you an overview of each of them. Okay, so yeah, let's say you want to create your RDS instance. So let's quickly create an RDS instance and make sure that all these monitoring tools are taken into consideration. Okay, so I'll hit create So I'll choose, let's go with Postgres. So I'll choose, let's go with BF17. So I'll go with multi-AZ. Just so select the name, just select name RDS monitoring, then the username, passwords, set it. Then I'll choose my instance class. Please note that T classes, some of these T classes do not support performance insights, and yeah, do not support performance insight. So you need to take note, okay? And so just go with that default. Then storage, go with that default, no problem. Additional storage, you can enable auto scaling. Don't need that for now. And the VPC, yeah, go with default. For now, make it publicly accessible. Go with default, that's fine. Additional configuration, port number, that's great. Now, if you see this section, this is where you configure your RDS monitoring. Okay, you see our goal was to understand this RDS monitoring. So if you see there are two sections here: database insights advanced and database insight standard. If you look at it well, database insight advanced, what does it give you? It gives you 15 months of performance insight history. Okay, 15 months, that it retains 15 months of performance history, and fleet level monitoring is also enabled and integrated with CloudWatch application insight. Now, if you go for database insight standard, it gives you 7 days of performance history, that is retention period of 7 days. Okay, and you have the option to pay for additional retention of 24 months. Okay, so this is where you need to make a choice. Do you want, and this 7 days is free. This one is actually free, and this one is payable. Okay, so I mean, I want for now, let's go with the database insight advanced. You see, if you go with advanced, what does it do? It automatically checks enables performance insight automatically, because a database insight advanced needs performance insight to function. But if you check database insight standard, you have the option to disable performance insight if you don't mind, right? So it becomes your choice. So now let's go with advanced, and okay, let's deal with that. And now the next thing about monitoring is enhanced monitoring, CloudWatch logs, and DevOps gurus. This is what you also is still part of the monitoring. So the first thing, do you want to enable performance monitoring? Say yes, you accept. And what is your granularity? You can go with 5 seconds, can go with 30 seconds. But for a production instance, you can go for 15 seconds, right? For production instance, go with 15 seconds, no problem. Then OS monitoring metric, you can go with default. Now, another important one is what? Log export, right? Exporting logs to your CloudWatch, right? So for Postgres, you're going to see its own logs that RDS will export to CloudWatch. For SQL Server, you're going to see error logs. For MySQL, you're going to see its own types of logs. So you can check all of these: upgrade log, Postgres logs, IAM logs, right? So all these logs will be exported to CloudWatch so that you can monitor those activities. Then now DevOps Guru is like AI monitoring by AWS. Like, it gives you recommendation based on how you are performing. So based on how your RDS instance is performing. For example, you can see that your instance is underutilized, or you have a lot of IOPS that are you have a lot of IOPS that are of superseding your instance capacity. It's going to tell you that the IOPS that you're actually exerting on the instance is more than the provision IOPS that you've actually set for your instance, and it gives you recommendation. So you can always enable that. Okay. Then you have additional configuration. This is no more important. My goal was for you to understand this aspect of monitoring, understanding that database insight, what database insight advanced does, what database insight standard does, enabling enhanced monitoring. I already explained this is operating system level monitoring, and now logs, exporting these logs to CloudWatch, right? So yeah guys, so that's that. I'm going to create my RDS instance. Okay, so just add a DB, let's call this DB, and Postgres 17 backup. This is so important for our topic for today. Can even do that. Can check that, and can create my RDS instance. Okay, so I'll create my RDS instance, and when it is created, I'm going to come over and give you more information. After enabling this monitoring tool, I'm going to now show you how to access this monitoring tool, like overview of this monitoring tool. Okay. Alright guys, so as you can see from my screen, my my instance is available. Okay, and so from this RDS console, you need to know that this console gives you the ability to have some RDS monitoring metrics directly without going to CloudWatch. That's fine. So you can access some predetermined or pre-allocated metrics that AWS provide from the RDS console. Even logs, you can also access that, right? You can access those events and the logs, right? So so if I select my RDS instance, let's start with pre-allocated RDS monitoring metrics. Okay, so if you select the RDS instance, you go to the monitoring tab. So if you see these tabs, this monitoring tab and logs and events, right? So this monitoring tab gives you the ability to access predetermined RDS monitoring metrics, right? So you can here you have two pages. So you have ODS replication slot, you have CPU utilization, right? So these are metrics you can easily get, like the pre-allocated metrics that RDS just imports them for you to be able to see them, right? And now one most important thing about this monitoring is that this one you can toggle the alarm, right? It's going to give you some metrics that are in alarm. You can toggle that, and these metrics are, remember, they are CloudWatch metrics that have been pulled to this RDS console, right? So if you go by your left, by top right, you're going to see monitoring. Okay, in this monitoring, if you select, you're going to see that there is one CloudWatch. What you were watching was CloudWatch metrics. The second, there is enhanced monitoring. The third is OS processes, and the other one is database insight. So from this monitoring tab, you can actually access all those elements I told you, like CloudWatch metrics, enhanced monitoring, OS processes, and database insights. You can access it. You can access all of that, right? So let's say we want to instead view enhanced monitoring. You now select enhanced monitoring, and you're going to see enhanced monitoring metrics. You see, very first thing, you see free memory, active memory, CPU user, CPU load average. These are operating system processes. Okay, then the next thing you can decide to see, like, want to see operating system processes. Guys, look at how this is very important. Can you see all system processes that are ongoing? Like, I can actually determine, or I can actually identify which process is consuming what percentage of CPU, what percentage of memory, based on these OS processes. I believe this OS process is one of the monitoring metrics that you should always take note, because you may be able to capture sessions like idle sessions, idle in transaction, and you're able to take appropriate action, right? So OS processes, I love that, right? So if you go back to the monitoring again, the other one is database insights, right? Database insight is going to open in CloudWatch Database Insights. Okay. So here's our database, CloudWatch Database Insights. Okay. So you see database insight, you have, first thing, you can, like, you decide to select the instance. Okay. So first thing you select, you are on database, then you select the instance, or choose DB instance identifier, and you select that. Okay, and now on the database insight tab, remember on this database insight there is performance insight also. There's like database insight is a combination of performance insight metrics and database and CloudWatch metrics. Okay, with addition of slow query logs and other processes, right? So that's why they have combined all of them to call them database insight. However, performance insight is also available on its own, right? Yeah. So we have here DB load. So you can like DB load analysis. You can see DB load analysis. You have database telemetry. Database telemetry is a database like the CloudWatch metrics. We see database telemetry, the CloudWatch metrics. So it gives you CPU utilization percent, free memory. Like look at these telemetries, you can use it to capture all what is happening, right? Then you have performance analysis. Performance analysis when you want to capture like this is a report you want to like you want to build a report for a specific range, a specific period, right? Then down here we have metrics, which I showed you. Then you also have logs, right? You see, you can have access to your logs. So I can tell you database insight has everything about your databases. You have from database insight you can access database CloudWatch metrics. You can access database CloudWatch logs. You can access performance insights. Okay, that is why we call it database insights. It has everything. So then you see slow queries, you see events, and you see OS processes. So these are the OS processes which I told you, right? Yeah. So so that's that. That's an overview of RDS monitoring, which I was my goal for today was just to give you an overview of it and show you how you can first of all dive into monitoring. How do you access these tools? How do you get them? And what happened? Which tool do you use when there is a specific problem? As I explained, guys, first you can access your monitoring basic monitoring from your monitoring tab, right? You can get basic monitoring like CloudWatch Metrics, no problem. You can get enhanced monitoring from there. You can get OS processes and database insights. Okay, if you don't want to use this, you can, let's say you want to get exclusive, maybe you want to get the database logs. You go to CloudWatch, go to data, search CloudWatch. So in your CloudWatch, you're going to see everything about monitoring, right? The fact is that CloudWatch is everything about the cloud monitoring infrastructure, both EC2 application, databases, everything, right? So if you go to metrics, right, you see all metrics. Like you can pick all infrastructure metrics, the CPU for anything, whether it's RDS, whether it is EC2, whether it's an application, no problem, because CloudWatch metrics gathers all of that. Then there's also logs. You see, these are the logs. You see logs management. See, if you click on log management, so you can see that there is that this is our RDS log. So if you scroll down, you can see this log stream. So if you open that, so you can see all these log stream, right? See all your log stream for your RDS instance. So you have access to all those logs, right? Then you have infrastructure monitoring. Infrastructure monitoring, like what do you want to monitor? Do you want to monitor the database? Do you want to monitor an EC2 instance? Do you want to monitor a Lambda? What do you want to monitor? So infrastructure monitoring now, at this juncture, as a database administrator, you instead select database insights, right? And database insight, guys, take note, is a combination of performance insight, enhanced monitoring, CloudWatch metrics, and OS process list, right? So it gives you everything about your RDS instance. So at this juncture, you go to choose instance, then you scroll down, select instance identifier, select it, and now you can start monitoring that. Then you can also choose the time. Maybe you want to see it for the past 12 hours. You can select the 12 hours and you monitor. Most importantly, this DB load is performance insight. Okay, just I do not have processes. You will have seen a graph here. This DB load analysis is for performance insight. So you can always see from here, you can see log analysis, you can see top SQL, you can see top weights, top host, top user, top session, top application, and see all what is going on. Remember, I told you performance insight is for all database sessions, like queries that are running in database, and you'll be able to see weights, you'll be able to see logs, you're going to see slow queries, see queries that are running concurrently, and so on and so forth, right? Then coming now to infrastructure monitoring, you use database telemetry, which is CloudWatch which is CloudWatch metrics like CPU utilization, IOPS, bus balance, and so on and so forth, right? So yeah, so that's what I wanted to show you guys today, guys. So in our next video, we're going to deep dive into each of these CloudWatch each of these monitoring tools, right? So, and we'll probably be starting with performance insights, or we'll be using database insight, but from, let's say, starting with logs, moving to enhanced monitoring, and so on and so forth. And I will show you how you can use this to take proper decisions. Okay. All right, guys. So that was that for today. And if you love the session, you can always hit the subscribe button. And yeah, that is, if you have any question, or if you have any issue, if you're a database administrator, if you are an aspiring cloud engineer, you can obviously subscribe to my channel, and so much so that whenever I upload a video, you're going to get the latest update. And yeah, so guys, that's that for today. So see you tomorrow for another video on performance monitoring.